Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Sorry for our little delay, but I think it'll be worth your while to hang around. How
Yes.
was your day,
It,
Coach?
well, it was a good day, Coach. It was a good day. Busy day. I like we were talking about in the green room. I'm running the stream, not from home. Drove up this morning to my brother's house. So on an hour of sleep, 4 hour drive. I was able to take some trades. Got on the show, did the opening call, traded fast markets. It was a busy day, but good day overall. How was yours, Coach?
Great. Busy day, good day. I lost well in some markets and they do very well in others overall. Um, but wow, I guess there was more sellers than buyers today in the equity markets.
I would say so for sure. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past six, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experiences, um, perhaps pass along some wisdom, and to help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. And you are all our audience. Thank you for hanging out with the little technical difficulties that we had. And if you haven't done so already, like Paul H's name says, hit that like button. Tell your friends and family to subscribe. Let's get into the markets. Go over to our calendar. We know Thursdays, we have the jobless claims number that comes out. So pretty busy news day today. But again, I think the planned headlines and unplanned headlines are battling for who is going to cause the most volatility. And the unplanned headlines are the ones that are winning, right? Anytime the T
They're-
word drops, uh, it says, hey, we got this. We'll take this from here. Um,
It's the unplanned headline is batting 1,000.
yes, it is. So we had initial jobless claims coming at 242,000. Forecast was 221,000. We also had the U.S. GDP estimate come in line with expectations, 2.3%. U.S. durable goods came in higher than expected, 3.1%. Forecast was 2%. GDP price index 2.4%. Forecast was 2.2. But then again, Fed speakers pretty much all day. The president speaking pretty much all day. And again, for me, it's while we're paying attention to what's happening with the trades. I think it's a perfect reminder of, especially if you're a day trader, what is happening is probably a little bit more important than why in the moment, right? Where if I try to figure out why we're selling off, I might be late to the move. So what I've been going with is, if I'm listening to Topstep TV, I'll hear the team calling out what's happening. But then if I need to kind of get an overall view of the news and what the president might have said, what the Fed might have said, it's going to happen after the fact. Because if I try to dissect it in real time, I might be missing some trade opportunities. But anything you saw on the news front, Coach? Anything you want to comment on, or should we just get right into the charts?
I don't know the news. I watch the market. So let's just dive right in, sir.
Let's get into the charts. I'll pull up a quote board here. Uh, and there are 35 different markets that we can trade with Top Step accounts. And today, to the downside, we had wheat futures down 2.98%, micro Ethereum futures down 3.13%, and lean hogs, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, down 4.53%. To the upside, we had RBOB gasoline futures up 2.1%, crude oil up 2.17%, and heating oil up 2.24% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. There is definitely a lot of red on this quote board. I think there's only six markets that are green. And yeah, I mean, everything selling off to the downside. We already talked about crude oil in our big four, up 2.17%. To the downside, S&P is down 1.44%. Gold down 1.53%, and the Nasdaq down 2.56% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside in our big four. It seemed like a lot more, I guess, because of how quick the move happened. Right, it felt like it happened in the later half of the day, but really big move to the downside. I have an S&P chart up here, Coach. I'm going to switch over to the Nasdaq actually. Uh, Switching over to the Nasdaq chart here, and I'm on a daily. What are you seeing on this daily, Coach?
Well, we closed under the 200 bar moving average on the daily. This does not happen too often. And what do we usually do? Bounce off of it.
Yep.
Um, what I'm finding interesting on this move, though, I just looked at the average true range, or basically a vol measurement. It's not that big. It's only 375, basically average true range. Usually when it gets down here, it's like at 500, 550. So I'm saying this volatility. Last week we were we were talking about those dojis on 3 days in a row,
Yep.
and volatility has just started to enter the market. Um, does it continue? I don't know. If you know the future, don't need to turn on. Just
Just take your
but
trades.
this was swift action. Um, it's still, let's see how tomorrow comes. If we close back, if it holds true to form, it should bounce off of this and start turning around. If not, this market could be turning pretty hard. Um, my feeling is trade to the short term, manage your risk because you don't know the future. But wow, did we get to that 200 pretty quickly?
Yeah, we did. So we've been talking about it for a little while, right? Looking like a potential target. I feel like we've been talking about it since the beginning of the year, right? Where it looked like we were going to test it uh, early on, right, before the inauguration. But then we had the inauguration, and we saw some buyers come in. But again, these markets have been heavy. Not really seeing them hold a bid at all at any kind of major level, and uh, it looked like a foregone conclusion that hey, this is going to happen at some point. Now, like you said, Coach, it doesn't happen a lot. The last time we closed under that 200 daily moving average was the September 6th daily candle, and then right after that, we bought back up and made new all time highs. Right. We obviously had the really high volatility July into August, where that ATR did increase. Again, we got to close below it. These daily candles are much different than what we're kind of seeing now, right? We're seeing 5% down on some of these days. So it feels a little different. Is this a pullback? But, you know, could be either the greatest buying opportunity right here for the next 2 years, or the markets are heavy. I do want to bring up, we talked about just because we are, I think this is the first official red close of the year. If we look at where the year started, right, here's that daily candle for the yearly open. I put the line right here on the Nasdaq, and these are futures. NDX I think was already negative, but we trade futures here, so the futures open was right around 21,260. So this is the first time we're actually, no, that's not true. We closed negative 2 days ago, but this is a significant negative close, right? Right now on the year we are down 3%. Uh, I don't want to preempt it, and I am not an economist, but I threw the question out there
But you
just
play one on TV?
I play one on TV. I threw the question out there just for hypotheticals. You know, at what point, if at all, do we start to talk about this being a negative year? Um, and it's still early, right? It's just February. We're only 2 months in, and we could be talking a month from now about new all-time highs, right? But I'm not seeing any convinced buying in here, and we had a lot of time to do it. Remember that crude oil consolidation that we had? That was 3 months, and then we broke out to the upside with a pretty strong move. We just had that for 60 days in the equities, and we broke to the downside uh, with a ton of selling that we saw coming through on the order books. Right over the past couple of days, we've seen a bunch of thousand lots. Now, again, we don't know what the intentions of those market participants are, but uh, selling, right? So they're either selling to close, selling to open. We don't really know. Either way, if
Yeah,
they're
we don't
selling, we
know
think the
where
market's
that
going down.
if where that volume's coming from, whether it could be coming from the option land or market makers but what we can see is the volume is rising with selling,
Yep.
and it's not being absorbed. You could have big volume and no movement, right? We're getting big volume and it's adding, it's going higher and higher as prices go lower and lower.
Yep.
Um, so they, like I said, can they find some buying? Well, one of the things that while we're here, can we go quickly to the weekly and see if there's something that changed in the weekly?
Here's the weekly. What are you looking at
Um,
here, Coach?
no, there's the range you talked about. Now, could we possibly break down, start a longer term head and shoulders? I don't know, but right here, I don't want to buy it. I'd rather buy it higher,
Yeah.
because if it's going to be a bottom, you're going to find some large amount of volume has to come in to buy it.
Yep.
And we've seen that when we've had these breaks, it'll be much quicker and vicious than, but
Yeah.
just looking at that weekly, it almost looks like the daily. So how long have we been in this range? I think since November, right?
Yeah, pretty much. If we're going back to the weekly, yeah, November, right before the election.
There's the neckline. So we could be there tomorrow. On true breaks like 2008, this doesn't even matter. Um, if there has to be liquidation, what I'm noticing, I don't want to get too far off time, but it relates to Nasdaq, is Tesla and
Mhm.
Bitcoin are birds of a feather. They look the same. There's Tesla's at the 200, and
Mhm.
it's happening quickly. Um, so if we're going to continue lower, there's going to be you won't know the bottom until the bad news comes out, because it seems to me that there's some bad news being hidden somewhere. Um, like I just get the feeling of 2008, because it's just happening. It's picking up velocity as it goes down, and that's, I'm not a physicist, but that's not a bullish scenario. But
What's
um,
funny is, and like I 100% agree with you, but it's funny because with the equities, you just know at some point they're just going to buy it. Uh, at
where
some
that is,
point,
we'll know after.
right? They're just going, and it feels, and I again, I 100% agree with everything you're saying. Right? These market, I'm not seeing a buyer yet on the tape, um, but look at every other dip, every other pullback. It just gets bought eventually. Now, what does that mean for our day trades? I'm not the most eager to just come in with a bullish, bias. I did tell Coach Paul that I traded this Topstep account on Topstep TV, then I traded my personal account, and all of the trades that I made in that account were buys, and was able to come out profitable on the day. But those are quick scalps, right? Any buys that I had today were shorter time frame, right? So let's go down to a shorter time frame chart. Then let's look at last night's open. We opened kind of right below that yearly open. We traded above it. Volume took one look above it and failed immediately. We're not the only ones looking at that price. So when the market trades up here, all of the buyers, and I see some traders in the chat talking about, anchored VWAP from the August lows, where we had that last sell off. We're under that anchored VWAP now as well. So shout out to JD in the chat with the quote:
Oh,
"The average market participant since August right now is underwater," right? Uh, which is interesting. So, but we day trade futures here, so let's take a look. Last night's action, not too much to talk about. Uh, Decent long opportunity, maybe, but I didn't see a really great trade setup last night. Doing slow markets with Dakota. So let's start with the open this morning in the equities. I'm actually going to switch over to the S&P. That's what we traded in the house account. Um, and initially came in looking to buy. Of course, we had the 8:30 news, 8:30 Eastern Time news, and look at the difference between planned news and unplanned news. Coach, remember a couple months ago we were looking at the planned news candles as the highest volume of the day. We could frame our analysis around that and go from there. Could
hmm,
barely see it here.
yeah, that was.
It's like, hey, yeah,
Look at.
no one cares about that. Let us know when we talk about tariffs.
Well, one thing too. This is I don't. This was not. This isn't PPI or CPI,
Right.
right? Um, but let's go further. What happened when the volume came in? There's our first volume marker.
So we actually took a long here, and I came in. I think Nick came in as well with a bullish bias, and here's why. We know yesterday we talked about the Nvidia candle high, right? I'm gonna make that purple box there, and then we had a spike, right? So I came in again bullish bias. We are trading around 6,000, and we had that first volume spike, like you said, Coach. That went to the downside right there, and our first trade was buying it right off the high of that Nvidia candle and saying, let's at least trade back up to the highs, if not to 60/20. Um, and I think this one, this is before the market opens. I normally don't trade at this time, but it presented a good opportunity. We got it right off of 97. So what was that? Less than 3 ticks of drawdown on that trade. But this is where the tariff news came in, and I think just going back to how do we trade in this current environment, we trailed the stop up on this trade 5 points in the profit when it presented it to us. Right, we had about 10 points. The exit was at 5 points because we don't know that this is going to happen. This was tariffs right here. I can't plan for that. Uh, so for me,
You
I'm
you
gonna
mean that
go
you
ahead,
don't
coach.
know the future? You don't know the future?
Man, I wish I did. I wish I did. I'd know where to place that 15 lot tomorrow during fast markets. Um, but we don't know, we can't plan for this, right? So this is the first tariff talk I think we had for the day, and then that really kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. The New York session open. Again, a lot of these things we're looking at as, hey, this is where we can anchor our day or anchor our daily bias on. It's kind of taking a back seat to whenever volume trades, in my opinion. Uh, that 3 minute opening range, I'm still always going to look at. And again, we traded back up to the high of that volume candle, but this candle here traded more volume than the open, and this is an unplanned news event. Uh,
Wow.
so
So I didn't even realize that they had higher volume than the first. So it was that
how
that's
so?
selling. Interestingly, from another point of view, is when we're just we have to understand our role,
Hmm.
right? As you talk about, don't swim in front of the shark. Well, who is the shark? The large institutional trader. It seems to me, with the way you described that on that tariff news, that was the big volume. They were ready to sell.
Yep.
And just look at that. You just hit before the tradition, the New York Open. It was already determined. This market is weak. We're talking about it. You know, it's gaining volume as it goes down, and boy, that's a key indicator right there. That wasn't. Actually, I'm kind of gobsmacked. That volume was bigger than the actual open.
Yep.
So what like I said, if we know our role, what did the shark do even before New York opened?
Yeah.
They sold a lot.
Sold a lot. Set all these buyers up for just to get them trapped right in the shark trap and sold it off. And again, we that made the high. That made the high for the day, right? So even on this retest, this is where we talk about, is this long opportunity actually just a better setup for a short? And that's exactly what it was today. Nick and I both, at this point flipped bias to the short side. I took a short at 59.82, felt like I was late on it, and I dropped the ball here, guys. 59.82. I think I took it for about 6 points. Uh, and immediately after I got out, dropped about 50. Uh, I'm going to give myself a C grade on that trade. Entry was decent. The trade management of it wasn't, where, my targets were a lot lower, right? If I only had a 10-point target on that trade, I'd say, okay, you did your job, you took 60% of it. But the targets were a lot lower, and there really was not a reason to get out of that one. But a really nice sell under VWAP here, until the next unsustainable volume that we see, Coach.
It's, then there it was. Is that a J trade?
It 100% is. And guess what Jay did?
Did you buy it or
Yeah,
sold it? Don't tell me you sold it,
I
because then you're
faded.
going to have to sit on the bench.
I faded myself. I
All
faded
right, get a
myself.
sub for Coach Jay.
I'm out of here.
Go sit down. You gotta get. Oh, they disappeared. I'm sorry. I really get
Uh,
back in there, Coach.
yeah. And I think what it was, and again, traders, we have to be conscious of this, right? I'm a trader at the end of the day, and I'm very conscious of, you know, your favorite quarterback, your favorite point guard, your favorite whoever turns the ball over every once in a while, right? Coach, I think John Stockton leads, like he's like on the top of the assist leaderboard, but he's also on the top of the turnover leaderboard. And when you have the ball in your hands, sometimes you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make the wrong read. But it's about how much it costs you. And I definitely made the wrong read here, right? I think part of it was the I should have been in the short from 82 thought. Um, and again, thinking there was more room down, which wasn't wrong. The location of this trade was terrible though, right? And we talk about why that is. How far were we from VWAP, Coach?
Oh, probably about 2 ATRs or
On a 30-minute chart, we were at. Sorry, on a 3-minute chart, we were 4 ATRs away from volume, right? So idea was right for the day. Location was wrong. And again, we're day traders here, so timing and location is extremely important. I don't have a 60-point, drawdown in my trading plan. So the timing and location of this was wrong, and again, it came from kind of dropping the ball over here. So why am I saying all of this? Execute what you see. Execute what you see, because of the opportunity cost, right? Where hey, I thought I should be in this one, so now I'm going to take it 60 points lower than it should have been. I wouldn't even take this trade if I was, I should be getting out here, which is what we've talked about, because this has the potential to be the low of the day with that exhaustion volume. Um,
well, who is it? The Yinka, Mr. Magic. He has he put out here. He has
a combine named J
a
Trade.
combine named J Trade. He's up $700 on it.
Hey,
Uh,
somebody's getting paid from it.
Good on you. Um, so that's awesome, actually.
Yeah, love to hear
We
that.
like to hear that. Um, by the way, sometimes it may seem we're cherry picking, but I have to hand it to Coach Jay here. He's straight up honest. This is not an easy game. So I didn't see that, but I was busy in some other market, crude oil.
Right.
Um, but when you see it and it's there, take advantage of it. These aren't 100%, and I'm going to say it right now. Um, but they're well worth taking the risk.
Right.
Um, if we lose money today, I lost on more trades than I made. No, I lost more trades. I had more losing trades than winning trades, but I ended up doing all right on the day.
Nice.
So, understand that we're not here. We're just reviewing and giving some setups. Versus the Twitterverse where we have nothing but winners.
Right.
Uh, if you have nothing but winners, don't tune in. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You're going to be very rich.
Yeah.
Um, and other people will give you lots of money. But here we're learning, we're reviewing. So I'd love to hear someone did a combine with Coach Jay and Coach. I have to throw it back out to you for you're straight up transparent. Um, because this is not an easy game.
Not easy at all, right? And I don't even want to fake it, right? Again, I'm up on the day as well, and I can't complain about it. But this is a performance sport that we're playing here, right? So I'm measuring my performance. Uh, if I executed the game plan, this positive day is way more positive, right? So I think it is okay to have expectations for yourself, and it's not frustration, but it's hey, I need to play better. Right? I need to play the game better. I won, but it was an ugly. Coach, you ever coach ugly wins?
Oh yeah, I'm fr- and those are wins.
Right,
And but here the most valuable part of an ugly win is you can learn. You know, you've done something well enough that you could win. But for me as a coach, it's like, okay, I have your attention now.
right, right. It didn't need to be that hard.
Yeah.
Good job doing what you needed to do to win, but it didn't need to be that hard, and that's why I'm reviewing this, right? And again, I think you build to that point over time, right? Where frustration is earned, right? You have to know what you're looking for first to even have something to use as a metric. But then once you establish that, it's hey, do what you got to do. Um, but after that, a couple of nice two-sided trades. This is and someone wanted a quick explanation of the J trade. Basically, we had this high volume here, exhaustion volume into the lows. We're gonna frame out that candle, and when the market closes above that, the idea is to go long. There are, we can talk about trade execution and where you might be able to get better trade location if 50% of this holds. That is preempting the trade, making it lower probability. But once we get a close outside with a 2 ATR stop, shout out to Coach Paul, it's usually a pretty good for, somewhere close to a 2 to 1. Anything we say here is for educational purposes only, not a suggestion to take any trades, but if we got traders naming combines after that setup, we're doing something right, Coach.
I, you know, I tell you, if you made money today buying it and
Yep.
you followed your process, yeah, you're doing well. You're
Did your
you're a
job.
good trader. If you made a little bit of money today and you were selling, you got to ask yourself,
What can
what
I do better?
I need to improve.
Yep.
So, and even if you bought it, you were a buyer today and you lost a little bit of money, you had a good trading day. If you didn't do anything and said, "God, I wish I would have done that," um, you probably need to stop trading because you don't want to take risk because you have to take risk to make money.
100%.
Um, all right,
All right, Coach. We spent a good amount of time on the equities. Where do you want to go from here?
let's look at gold.
Nelson said, I made a good amount of money using the J trade this week. How much do you owe me? I want a 0.5%. 0.5%. All right. We got gold here, Coach. You want to go to the daily?
Yeah, let's look at the daily. Start there. We were talking about, oh, wow. Okay, what do I mean by wow? We're under, we did not hold a 20-day moving average. Let's quick line chart, see if we get a bend in the, oh, all right. Looking kind of topish here. It's turning over. When's the last time we settled under the 20-day moving average? And we have volume underneath it
Last time we settled under the 20 moving average was
or
January
above it.
6th.
So this is for the year.
Yep.
This is the buy of this year. All right. Well, I'm seeing here, first time we're closing under the daily, and look at the volume. We had selling volume. Um, we can we make an assumption that that's liquidation?
Yeah, I'd say
All
so.
right. All right. So let's go to the half hour. And well, we started out underneath the 200 on the half hour. So there was already selling in there that the bulls couldn't take higher, right? Now let's go to the first half an hour from last night.
First half an hour from last night. Let's take a look. I'm going to switch over to the candlesticks. Here's the first half an hour. Man.
All right. So now first half an hour, it was a tiny range. I mean, there was nothing. Look at the volume. There's nothing there. Um, but when the shape of VWAP early was down.
Yep.
Now, if I'm just thinking, do I want to buy this? If I'm a buyer, well, we just went over the 200 on the half hour, and it's below it. Now we come in first thing, and we have no movement. So there's we had a tiny buy candle, two of them, and then someone tried, an entity started selling it,
Yep.
and they couldn't find a buyer, right?
No, they could not.
Wow, that was quite a move. I wasn't paying attention. I will do my push-ups
Oh,
after,
hey,
coach.
you weren't paying attention, coach. You weren't there. It's okay. I was on slow markets with Dakota, and I was paying attention. Anyone remember what the call out for the short was on slow markets last night? I'm going down to a shorter time frame here, coach. We had a high volume spike right here. Some of these are going to be continuation moves, right? We talked about this a little bit, I think last Friday. Some of the volume that we see is going to get follow through. It's not always going to be a reversal. Coach, I think,
Well, if
go ahead.
because the J trade is a reversal, and what's the main thing in the J? It has to break the high of the high selling.
Has to break the high. But in this case, when 50% of that holds, uh, this is the J continuation trade. Sell at 50%. And I said it to Dakota on slow markets, sell it at 50%, risk above the high. We got some volume. The one reason I didn't take this trade is because of the potential of the lack of follow through volume. And this is where me as a volume analyst, it didn't fit. It didn't fully fit, a profile of a trade that I was willing to take. Right. If this was during the New York session, absolutely, I'm in this trade. Probably full size. But because it's overnight, I'm looking at the potential lack of volume. Maybe that was the wrong read again. Gold metals are worldwide markets, and we've seen moves happen in Asia. But click the button. Click the button. Um, What
Wow.
else?
That, let's go back to that. This is we're reading volume. We had that big spike in volume that you just had, and then we had a reaction, a small candle, and then the volume came right back again. Now that isn't a J trade, and you just want to understand the principles behind that.
Hmm.
You define a J trade as an exhaustion sell or buy, right?
Yep.
Um, but it has to what to determine if the sellers are finished. It can't. It has to break that high of that high volume. So that's a really good example. Not only did it not break it, we found even more selling.
Yep.
I almost like that trade if it doesn't and it makes a new. Think about it.
Oh yeah,
You
you
had that
sell it.
selling, you sell it again.
Yeah.
Um, Boy, what was gold down a lot today, huh?
It was pretty big. We closed under 2,900. First time we've done that in a little while. Skylar, yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? We
Yeah.
just we keep playing
If
ball.
wishes were fishes, we'd have a fish fry every day.
Keep playing ball. But yeah, gold looks heavy, right? We're under that 200 moving average on the 30 coach, closing below 2,900. Um, Anything else you're seeing here?
Um, I don't know. It's very being underneath the 20-day moving average, and and here's what happens. And we could have a liquidity event. What does that mean? The last time we had that was in July, but a real big one was the famous 2008. What does that mean? Well, if there's a big entity that's losing big money, right? They have to not only liquidate, they have to liquidate a portfolio. Think of hedge funds. If they're long and they're losing big money, not only do they have to get out of that position, but they have to raise margin. Or one of the principles is they have to get deleverage. So if they were making money in gold, well, probably get out of gold. Or if it was a large central bank, that's whatever. This is very interesting considering what's going on in the equities.
Yep.
Um,
Sell
I
gold to
don't know.
cover your margin call.
Yeah, could be, or just taking it off because inflation's not here. I don't know, but
Right.
I can tell you what starts happening when the equities start getting hit. It can affect all different markets.
Yep.
Liquidity,
Yep.
Bitcoin. Oh, that's the next one.
We're
Bit,
going there.
uh,
We're going there. Let's get
we're
to a
going
couple.
there.
Let's get to a couple questions we have here. We got one from Emily Clark. How do you read an ATR chart? ATR is just an indicator on the bottom of your charts. It's going to adjust based on the time frame that you're on. So if we can look right now, I'm on a daily chart in gold. The ATR is 43 points. But if I go down to a shorter time frame, like a 30-minute, that ATR is 7 points now. The reason I have this on my chart, shout out to Coach Paul, using 2 times the value of the ATR on the time frame that you take a trade as your stop. So if I take a trade based on a 30-minute chart, the ATR is 6 points right now. My stop would be 12 points. If I go down to a 3-minute chart and the ATR is 2 points, my stop would be 4 points. Um,
And just to clarify, the ATR is a measure. It's very much it's a volatility measurement. In each time frame, it's a little different. Um, it gives you an idea of how volatile that market is and what it's going to be lower at night. And as volume comes in during the day in equities, it's traditionally going to go higher. Um, you could think of it as the size of the candles.
yep.
But it's used for it's not an indicator. Sometimes people get confused. I don't want anybody to get confused with that. It's the size of the candle on average the last 14 candles.
There we go.
It's the biggest use is position sizing.
Yep,
That's
I
what it's
agree with
for.
that. Especially if we see it increasing on the daily, um, like last July. Question from DGen, or comment, I guess. I passed my combine today. I'm really hoping to hold and probably go to live. Uh, I already commented on this. First of all, congrats on passing your combine, and to anyone that passed the combine today, congratulations. The hope word, don't hope, right? Hope takes all of the control that you have over your process and gives it to somebody else. Just execute what you know works, right? Execute what, if you gotten to this point sustainably, right? And sustainably means not just throwing on max contracts, hoping that it passes and resetting until it does. But if you got here sustainably, just keep that same process. Keep that same process and zoom out. Coach Ray had a class with some traders yesterday talking about zooming out. Once we have our strategy, defined, I feel like a lot of times when something doesn't work, we tend to do this, Coach. We zoom in as close as we can get and say, okay, I got to find out how to buy it right here and sell it right here. If I could just do this, then I'll be a profitable trader. But I think once we have our strategy defined, it's important to zoom out and think about where trading fits in the overall aspect of your life and what we're really trying to do here, right? If you had to take a trading year, which is 250 days, and say, hey, what are the results I'm looking at by the end of 250 days? Uh, you know, that's where we should be thinking once we have strategy, and not, you know, so much about how do I optimize the perfect. Even with today, right? I missed that trade. It is what it is. In the grand scheme of things, 250 days, I'm going to chalk this one up as a winner and just keep it pushing, right? Um, Anything you got on that, Coach?
Um, I think you covered it right there.
Awesome. I know what you want to get
By
to.
the way,
Go
someone
ahead.
was asking about VIX. VIX was up 6.5% today.
Oh wow.
Not, not. I mean, and it's at within reasonable levels. That's why it being at the 200, and we don't have really outspoken or a high level of volatility. I'll mark that up.
Yep.
What does that mean? We got here without a spike in volatility.
Which is kind of crazy. Uh,
Yeah.
JD just said VIX closed up 10%. Any other markets you want to talk about, Coach? I have a 30-minute chart.
Someone was just calling me. Sorry on
My bad, that was me. Uh, hey,
I
Coach
hung up
Paul.
on you.
Hey, Coach Paul. Want to talk about micro Bitcoin real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about micro Bitcoin.
Here, I'm going to throw up a 30-minute chart. I need to step away for just a second. So I'm going to throw this up here for you. Let's annotate this chart really quick. And then I need to step away for just a quick second.
All right. Well, first thing that comes out is we talked about Monday that Bitcoin had a chance to break hard. It settled under a neckline on the daily, but look at the pattern here. It's stair stepping down. This market on the cash side is right at the 200-day moving average. And it needs to hold this level, or we could see big liquidation. This is, it seems to me, mechanical, systematic selling. Today's action is like a mirror of yesterday's action, like like symmetrical. Um, I don't. This market, once again, we're under the 200 and a half hour. We're liquidating. Um, I'm finding if we look at the daily here, I have it on the cash index, which has no gaps. no expirations. Um, the 200 on the cash is at 81,800 roughly. All right. I Tomorrow is going to be a really big day. Um,
Across the board.
across the board. Now, it's Thursday, right?
Yep.
What day is tomorrow?
Friday.
Do you want, if you're nervous, do you want to head into a weekend with all these random events with a lot of risk on? Or see, but another thing, Fridays can be liquidation days. So,
Oh, it's the last
in
day of the
other
month
words,
too.
it's the last day of the month. Um,
Man, I
boy,
can't wait to trade tomorrow.
it's gonna, I think I'm gonna go to sleep early and get ready for London because if it's going to happen, it's gonna start in London.
Yep.
Um, or this can all turn around. Once again, I'm never going to profess. Actually, that's my mantras. I don't know. I look for for a setup, and I put on some risk, and I want to be know I'm wrong early. If
Hmm.
not, I'll hold on to it. But this is a review. We are in red line territory, so to speak. It's got to go. Um, Looking at the daily, was looking at a chart of Tesla and Bitcoin. They're they're almost. It was like the difference between the 10-year and the yen. They're tied at the hip.
Really.
Um,
Elon running the micro strategy play. What's going on over there?
I don't know. Elon doesn't call me when he's making his trades, but I think he's feeling a little heat. Like, what did I get myself into here? um, but all that technically speaking, this market and Bitcoin does this. It When it liquidates, think about it. It's another one that's designed to go up. We have hodlers in there, but it's unless you're trading futures, it's not easy to short Bitcoin.
Right. Just from a logistical perspective, you're saying?
Oh yeah, try it.
Yeah.
Um, but just on a strictly flow basis, this market is in feeling a lot of pressure. Um, I don't. Tomorrow mark this 80,000 level. 80 is once we go through there. Where do we start?
We got that 200 moving average on the daily, right around that 80,000.
Yep.
Right around the low of that gap. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
So yeah, it's by the way, if you're not trading micro Bitcoin futures because you don't think they're big enough, the ranges are about last time I went for the on the daily it equates to about $800.
Shout out to Ryan, Georgia Dog Ryan in the chat. Been trading micro Bitcoin and the yen futures. Ryan, I think this is the second shout out I gave you this week, but these are markets that are moving. The equities are kind of crazy. Micro Bitcoin, 50 cents a tick, is a nice one to trade. If you are struggling with the equities or just looking for an outside market to trade, Coach Paul has been talking about this micro Bitcoin for a year and a half now. Really nice market to trade.
Yep.
Um,
So I guess we better cut this off and get some rest because tomorrow could be the Super Bowl of the. I'm really looking forward to it. Um,
One quick thing I wanted to check real quick. I think someone put it in the chat. We do have PCE tomorrow, right? Inflation data, another catalyst or another potential catalyst. We'll see, right? What's more important, inflation data or tariff words, or both? Maybe we get them both at the same time. Uh, what the last PCE date was. I think someone just said January 31st. Is that right? Can someone verify that? January 31st. I just want to frame out the candle, take a look at it, and do what we do before every. Okay, January 31st. Here it is on the NASDAQ. It's a 30-minute candle that I'm looking at right here. Pretty small candle. But I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow that I do with every news event. Frame out the high and the low, attach a VWAP to it, and see how the market responds around it, and trade from there. Remember, you do not have to trade in that number in order to make profits. Let the market settle. Whatever settling in the markets look like nowadays, I don't think anyone is settled at all with a random tweet. But you don't have to trade in this unplanned news in order to make profits on the day. So trade well, manage your risk. Coach, you have anything before we go?
Plan your trade and trade your plan. Manage your risk and get into a groove, and you'll be all right.
Go execute on what you know works, and we will see you all tomorrow to end the week on a Friday. Andrew, thank you as always for sending the questions over to us. Thank you, everybody. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. We have classes coming up. Coach Hoop doing a class in Discord in about 15 minutes. Then we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Time. And then, of course, Dakota with slow markets. This is going to be the last slow markets for Dakota for a little bit. He is going on vacation. So show him some love during slow markets tonight. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.